Good morning. Okay, let us continue. So we are in the middle. Let's just remind ourselves. What we are doing is we are trying to finalize, if that's the wrong word, to look at which Makoros, which Gemaras, which Rishonim seem to align themselves and support Shittas Rashi. What is Shittas Rashi? Do you remember? In this sugya.
The part with the head?
Yes, that's okay. I'll give it to you.
Yes.
Did you? Have you got notes? So
Yes.
Shittas Rashi is those incredibly key words on page 1 here. Sanhedrin Ayin Beis on the base.
Yeah.
Lav nefesh hu. Shittas Rashi.
Right.
As we have started discovering, it's not by any means a das yochid. It is muchach. Good morning. It is muchach from the sugya in Arachin, and the Mishnah in Nida seems to support it as well. That you're very smart. Very.
I haven't changed that.
You haven't changed. I don't know. You just look. You had a trim, or you had a no. Okay. Right. Anyway,
That is not a net. That's a net.
Lav nefeshu. Shittas Rashi. Yes. Shittas Rashi is lav nefeshu, and Uber is not a nefesh. Supported by the Mishnah in Nida, only a ben yemechad ahur gechayiv. Supported by the Gemara in Arachin, that. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the video of the last year.
Yes, I have.
Oh, supported by the Gemara in Arachin, the Mishnah in Arachin, that what? A woman who is chayiv misa and she's pregnant, we take her out and we kill her. Even though it's going to kill the Uber. Because the Uber is no more, to quote the Gemara there in Arachin, migufa, it's part of the mother. You kill if the mother is, Nebuch has to be killed, so her arm, her leg, her thing, and the fetus, that's a chelik of her. It's gufa, finished. We are now going to look at some more opinions that seem to support Shittas Rashi. Okay? Turn to page 5, and we will see a Maharit. Shubas Maharit. Now we want to take out the main bit that we want over here. Give me a second. Excuse me. Okay. The Maharit is the one that really draws our attention to the Raya from the Gemara in Arachin. Okay. Now there's actually two Maharits here, but we may have to come back to there's two tshuvas here that in the Maharit. We're going to look at Siman Tzadik Tes. Okay. Let's go through this tshuva of the Maharit. Siman Tzadik Tes. Yeah, page 5 here. Im mutal his asek begoya lehis aber oy lahapil. And this, if you remember, I told you, one of the possibly one of the most practical halacha lemaisa, so to speak, aspects of this halacha is the fact that certainly min haTorah, it is absolutely strictly forbidden for a ben noach, for a Gentile, to be involved in abortion, which then means that you cannot then support that. You can't do that. It's a lifnei iver, which means a Jewish doctor or a Jewish midwife, a health practitioner, who is called upon to assist or to be involved in an abortion. It's a problem. Yeah, it's a real problem. Okay, so this is the shaila asked of the Maharit. Im mutal his asek begoya lehis aber oy lahapil. Im yesh b'dava isam machmas ibud nefoshes. Is there a problem of murder? V'shesh sho'altem. Let's go through this. V'shesh sho'altem. Im mutal his asek im goya achad achas lehis aber eshetapel. Im yesh b'dava isam machmas ibud nefoshes shehin goyim. Teshuva. We're on page 5. We're doing the Maharit Siman Tzadik Tes, which seems to support, as we're going to see. Well, you'll draw your own conclusions. Teshuva. Let's learn his response. Let's go through the response. Okay, we'll leave that bit out. That's less of it's not really our, maybe there's one little thing. He wants to know whether one may or should get involved in supporting Gentiles in their quest for fertility, to conceive. And just mamish apropos of nothing, because it's not really directly in any way relevant to, it's the because he was asked two shilas, whether it's okay to get involved with supporting Gentiles in their infertility and then to abort a fetus. So the first paragraph of this tshuva, as you can see here, is related to the shaila of the fertility one. Just look at the last line, only because it's fascinatingly curious. It's just it's fascinating. That's all. Uzachayrni. Says the Marit, I remember, there is a tshuva Sarashba, Shehayid ala Rambanzal. He testified about the Ramban, who was, of course, a doctor. Yes, the Rambam, the Sforna, yeah, they were all doctors. So, Shehayid ala Rambanzal, Nisasikim Goyo Achas Shetis Aber Bischar. He took a fee to support and aid a Gentile woman in her journey to fertility. It's just an interesting, fascinating point. We're not, without going into the halach. Now, here's the bit that we want. He says emphatically, there is no loss of a nefesh. You have not destroyed a nefesh. Da'afilu bi Yisrael nefalim lav nefeshu. Even with a Jew, the concept of abortion, the fetus is not treated and viewed as an independent nefesh. It's mamay. It is looked at as a, I know this might sound crude or crass, but we saw this in the Gemara in Erechim. Remember the Chiddush, the Gemara says in Erechim that if a woman who is chayiv misa is taken out to be killed despite the fact that she's pregnant, so much so that the Gemara just says pshita, duh, to coin a phrase. Yeah, why do you need even to tell me this? And the Gemara says no, because I might have thought otherwise, because the husband has a proprietary monetary interest in the fetus. Horaya, how do I know? The Parshin Mishpatim of the two men who are brawling, and one of them hits the other, and she loses the baby as a result. Then there is a monetary compensation that is due to the husband. You see that he has a monetary interest. So I might have thought, therefore, that this woman who's chayiv misa, maybe we should delay until she gives birth, just because I am damaging the monetary interests of the husband who has a proprietary interest in the kid. Kamash Malon, the Chiddush is, no, we still do it.
Not even that.
Not even that, yeah. But the Marit uses this as a raya that all it is, it's mama, and that's the only concern, the only consideration. Momenu d'chiv rachmanu d'mei v'lodis lebal k'nisim kashi yoshet al bala isha u'bereisha hanechnoki and amrina and itzich lemikam baka ish afilu nefolim kamashon u'pergeit tzedaifen kol nefesh l'rabbis koton yem echad, the Mishnah Nida, right, which we saw, ha'hergo yem echad, here he makes the diuk, the inference. L'rabbis koton ben yem echad d'mashma kol nefesh afilu nefesh kol du alma nefolim. In other words, where do we? He's doing more than I did with you, which is good. We learn from the pasuk kol nefesh to include the most minimal representation of a nefesh. What is the most minimal manifestation of a nefesh that you could possibly conceive of? Sorry, bad pun. That you could possibly think of.
Fetus?
That's what you would have thought. The Gemara says not. That's exactly the point. We learn from the Ishkiyake Kol Nefesh. Says Gemara, Kol Nefesh, the rabbis, Tinoik ben Yom Echad. What do you see from here?
That's the minimum.
That's the minimum. That's the threshold to be considered a nefesh of any sort. When we want to analyze the nefesh quotient, the minimal threshold of anything to have any nafshiyut, or whatever the word is 1 day old. Below that, you're not a nefesh. So beautiful raya. Again, he's actually doing it even clearer from that Gemara in Nida, right? Weiter. Then he brings the raya from the Gemara in Arachin about the woman who's pregnant is taken out, is nonetheless taken out to be killed if she's chayiv misa. Go to the underlined bit, yes? From the fact that the Gemara challenges the Mishnah as even not having a need to state the blindingly obvious. Pshita, of course we take her out to be killed. Why not? Why wouldn't we? The Gemara doesn't adduce any support. It doesn't say, often the Gemara will bring a proof from a Brisa, from a Mishnah. No, the Gemara just appeals to your very basic logic and understanding of halachic realities and says, why did the Chazal feel the need to record a Mishnah that a pregnant woman gets taken out to be killed? Of course, Pshuta. A Svara Pshuta, says the Marit, Mashma de Machmas Ibn Nefashis ein nidnud klal. There isn't the slightest scintilla of a doubt. That's an English word for you. SCINTILLA. It's just the tiny amount. There isn't the slightest shred of doubt. So it's a double poshut, in other words. Weiter. Vermin Hossam Ishish Yaktad Harig. Alma Bishvil Nivel Hilkoch. We get to the psak. Yeah? Hilkoch. Be Yisraelis Mipnei Tzairach Imoi Nira. This is he's talking about Yisraelis. Mipnei Tzairach Imoi Nira Shemuta Lehisasek Imohem Shetapileno Kivan de Refuas Imoi He. Says the Marit, with the Yisraelis, when there is a Tzairach Imoi, it's mutter to be Osik Bahapola. Kivan de Refuas Imoi He. If it's a refuah for the mother, refuah is that's it. But fascinating. Now he hasn't. Now just a second, because I haven't. What I haven't got clear is, how do we see? I've missed something here. I apologize. I read through this. I maybe did this a little bit too quickly, because the shaila was hapola for a goya, for a Gentile woman. And there, the Torah, we saw it in Sanhedrin, it's very clear, right? That it's Shefech Dam Ha'odam Ba'odam. So he says where there is a refuah, then it's okay, whatever the refuah is. Alma b'shul nivela'im hergin al vlad biyadayim v'lei choshem b'shul nivela'im b'shul. He seems to have, there's a hemshech. I see what's happened. This is Simon Sadites, it goes on. I apologize. I was wondering, because he signs off, but he hasn't finished the shaila. So for Yisraelis, if there's any tzorech for the mother, no problem. Now, I would add, sorry, I know I'll put you on hold. Your call is very important to us. I'll play you some nice music. But let me just finish this point off. No, I'm not going to challenge you. I'll do it myself. We are using the Maharit as showing that he was in line pretty much with Shittas Rashi. Okay, Shittas Rashi is Lav Nefeshu. A question that we have not fully asked ourselves is, and we're going to come back to this, is, does that mean that I could do it just because I'm bored? So, okay, that's very. I'm being deliberately provocative. Mm-hmm. Lav Nefeshu means it's, I can take this bottle of water, I can throw it away. Can I just? Is that what it is? It just means you're not. Or is that? I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because even Rashi brings. If you recall, I brought to you a proof from Rashi over there, where Rashi says lahatziles imoy. Go back to the Rashi. I want to do this just so that I make this point clear. Go back to the Rashi, page 1, where it says lav nefeshu, right? Mm-hmm. Let's remind ourselves that's the Rashi in the Gemara in Sanhedrin. Commenting on the Mishnah in Ahalos, right? What does Rashi say? Find that little Rashi there. Lav nefeshu v'nitein lahorgai ulahatzil es imoi.
But here he says about Hatzala, and here in the Marit it says refuah. So what? Beseda,
I'm not worried about that. Hatzala refuah. It means that there
needs to be a reason.
Thank you, Shkayach. That's what I was saying. We can argue about what threshold of reason it means. In other words, I think this is important. It's not a what in philosophy perhaps would be called a maximalist position. In other words, it's not almost binary. It's not like, it is nothing. It is just Maya Ba'alma, the Gemara sometimes says. In fact, the Gemara, I've just remembered, the Gemara actually says when it talks, and this is another interesting shaila. I'll throw it in just by the way. Have you heard of PGD? PGID, pre-implementation. I've gone blank. PGD is when you scan the
about disabilities.
the ovum before you create the fertility. Before you create the fertility, right? In vitro. So you take it. You can check it. The so-called designer babies.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a shear on that maybe a bit later. And then what happens if you've harvested lots and lots of ova? Can you dispose of them? The Gemara says, this is an interesting shine in the postgame. This is again really relevant in modern medicine. It's very, very relevant. You may have heard the case recently in Israel of somebody who was implanted and made pregnant with the wrong baby. You heard about this? Google it. Wrong somebody else's.
Oh, wow.
Somebody else's. This happened in Israel 2 months ago. It's a hot topic.
Wow.
It's a very hot topic. And in fact, we may move on to this a little bit because this is such a, we could go on forever. Anyway, let me roll it back. What the point I was making was the Gemara says that a fetus up to 40 days old, maya ba'almahu.
It's like nothing.
Water. But hold that thought. I'm going to give you a shaila, and then I'm going to come back to you. Sorry. I'm going to give you a shaila. Don't answer me, and I hope today we'll still come to some sort of resolution of it.
Okay.
And this is to prove the point that Kobe helped us find, which is that even if you can use very strong words and say lav nefesh, that does not necessarily mean that with no reason you can just dispose of it because you're bored. Horaya, shaila for you. What would be if I were to get a shaila on Shabbos? Somebody come up to me in shul and say, I don't know, my wife is 2 weeks pregnant and she started bleeding. I'm a Talmud Chochem, I know that it's a Maya Ba'alma, it's water. So she was going to call for an ambulance, and I said, no, you can't, it's just Maya Ba'alma.
Yeah.
Is the Hatzalah? Okay, obviously, of course, we're Mechal Shabbos for this. So, you with me?
Yeah.
We're going to come to that shortly as Tosfos in it. And I've kept you waiting long enough, and I do apologize.
No, so
Go on.
my question was about the difference between Hatzalah and Refuah. Because Hatzalah is very strong. Sounds strong. And Refuah can be like ambiguous a bit.
You're right, and I had not intended exploring that, but that is something that absolutely make a note of it, and maybe later on as we finish up the sugya, it's a note to go back to. The only thing I really wanted to say at this stage was to clearly say that there has to be a reason, even if you hold lav nefesh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on. Let us move on. So we're going. It's weird. We're going backwards to Siman Tzadi Zayin, which is the conclusion of this tshuva. So it's just the way the number that it was printed in. Okay. He quotes a Tosfos in Chulin, which we've already seen, that says, although Tosfos is elsewhere, we saw Tosfos in Sanhedrin. Look, we on the right-hand column, yes? Siman Tzadi Zayin. Perek Beis Chulin name is Am Nigel B'nei Me'ayim V'Kosu Shal HaTosfos Nehida Potter al Ha'ubrim Aval Lo Shori. Remember, we asked ourselves. We saw this lashon in Tosfos. Lo Shari. It's even though it's not a capital offense for it. That's how Tosfos got out of the problem of why abortion isn't a challenge to the halachic principle of something. There isn't something which a goy can't do and which we are allowed to do. There is abortion. Says Tosfos, for them it's a capital offense. For us, it's just lo shari. It's not allowed. That's not allowed. But what? But what exactly? What is it? We'll come back. You actually said something very interesting there. What did you just say? You said das macht man nicht. That is actually going to be a svara. We're going to see that in the Chavos Yair. Very good. Hold on. So we asked ourselves at the time, so what do you mean lo shari? Why not? Make up your mind. If it isn't murder, then why shouldn't I do it? You've got to give me a reason. Now here's coming our first reason. The Marit. Dehu also midin chavolahu. It's an isser of chayvel. You know what chavola is? To wound. You can't go around wounding people. It's an issa. It's an issa, right? So going around wounding people. By the way, and this is always I'll throw this in because it is going to be relevant at some point. Did you know that in halacha, suicide is a capital offense?
So it's not wounding.
Suicide is a capital offense. You're chayiv misa if you commit suicide. Mm-hmm. Right, I got the response I wanted. Yeah, what it means, of course, is it's actually irrelevant. Whether you succeed or not is almost irrelevant. let me flip this round, and here I'm going to, this is anti pretty much everything that society, this is how the Torah looks at something. It is forbidden to murder. Makes absolutely no difference who you're murdering. You could be murdering yourself. Still murder. You hear? It's murder. The object of this act of murder may happen to be yourself. That's utterly irrelevant, other than perhaps for us to diagnose your psychological state of mind, etc., etc. But murder, we do not have a proprietary interest in our own body. It is a gift from Hashem and needs to be treated with dignity, with respect, looked after, nurtured, health, sport, etc. But it's not yours. You don't just do it. You can't, and that's why there are shilas, cosmetic surgery. Rabbi Feinstein is a series of tshuvas, of which, because you can't just cut yourself. There has to be a medical reason, and Rabbi Moshe explores the boundaries, of the parameters of when is it okay just to do cosmetic surgery, to have a nose job or whatever it is. When is that permitted? When might it not be? Do we take psychological factors into consideration, etc.? But the concept of just hurting anybody, including yourself, is therefore the issa of abortion for a Jew, according to the Maharit, is chavala. There you have it, chavala. I'll stop. Yes, what do you want to ask?
If we say in suicide, we view it as murder on your own, so to speak.
Yes.
Is that only possible because we can differentiate or discern between us and our body? Is that because in the secular world we would say we are a body which has maybe something like a soul, and in Judaism we say we are this soul and we have.
I have to reflect on that. It's a great question.
I mean, how is it possible to?
Well, because even the only reason I'm hesitating is because I'm not sure that one necessarily and automatically follows the other. Why could we not take a position, perhaps, that, what do you mean say, where I am my body? I mean,
yeah.
I'm not sure why that philosophical question impacts on this. Irrelevant to who or what you are, but you are not allowed to murder.
Right.
You're not allowed. Life is a gift from Hashem, and therefore it needs to be preserved.
If you would say that you are more your body than you are.
And so what? But still, that wouldn't. It certainly wouldn't change the halacha. You see, both your points are correct. The philosophical, is that the philosophical underpinning of the other?
Yeah.
Possibly to some extent. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Fair point. Very good. Okay. What have we discovered? I think that's all we really need from the Maharit. There's an Issa, and the Issa is Chavala. That's all we need for this. Okay? So we're beginning to uncover, we have one reason why, according to Rashi, you need a reason, because otherwise it's Chavala. Can't just go around brooding. I'm tired. Wounding and bruising. Okay, that's the Maharit. What did you want to ask?
So this is talking about after 40 days, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
What would be the act before, as long as it's mine?
That we're not going to deal with that at the moment. Shelve that. We may get back to that. Next opinion is, go turn to page 6. The Chavos Yair. It's a long one,
Well,
but we're not. I'm going to see if I can do the summary.
who was the Chavos Yair?
Rabbi Yair Bachrach. He. I'd have to look up again the bibliography. He's in the 1700s, I think.
Okay.
I think, but possibly I will find out and let you know.
Okay.
So let's look through the shaila, and we're going to pick out. We're just going to pick out a little bit from it. Okay. Al dvar sheilascha. Here's the shaila. Eishes is shahara liznunim. Nebuch, terrible story. A woman becomes pregnant from somebody who's not her husband, and then when she realizes what she's done, she is very, very pained by it and sincerely regrets it. She cries day and night, Very poetic lashon here. Hayrida kanachal dima v'hiticha roisha bakoisel, until she started, her head started bleeding. So she was so, not sure whether she hit her head against the wall, it seems, and she told her husband, and she also went to the Rav to ask her to do it. How should she do tshuva? But she's well, in the beginning of the tshuva it says she did get pregnant from this guy. Now it seems to be say rak hasher choshesh nisabra mimenu. So the question is, what should she do? What should she do? So let's go to the bit. Go to the third paragraph. The main shaila over here is im yesh oven ibud nafesh b'zeh achash nisabra lekalkalei ben lamisa lapiloi. Here's the main shaila: can she perform an abortion? Ubezeh hoya efshel lechalek kam chilukim. Here we need to look at a number of variables. Number one, im kva obra arboim yoim, have 40 days passed. De mekama hocha maya ba'alma ninu. Before 40 days, it's water. Im kva obru al heroino gimel chadoshim, then that's different. Okay. Then he brings the Mishnah. Well, if he go to the bottom of the page, actually, I'm not going to do that with you because I want to do that Tosfos inside first. The main point that I want to get to is, hold on. Mikol Mokim. Go over the second column. Mikol Mokim. See the paragraph which starts Mikol Mokim. The first thing he says, in line with everything we've seen so far, and that is where there is no reason, it's definitely Osa. That's what you take out of that. Then he goes on to say, and I'm trying to find these words, I found them before. Go to the next paragraph. The next paragraph, towards the end. Loimar, the line starts the word Loimar. It's underlined. Loimar de mutal harge, mutal chabot shabbos latziloi, vaday ein loy shacher. To say that you can kill him and be mechal Shabbos, that doesn't seem to make any sense. And that's the next thing we're going to have to deal with, because Tosfos does say that. Here we go. Man macht das nicht. Who said that today? You did. Go to the bottom of the second column, and here you will see pretty much that. Ve'im kein lefi ma shekosavti. Everything says the Chavos Yair, which I've established thus far. Hoyoheta gomor sheiloscha asher sho'alta midin Torah. These are incredible words. That's extraordinary. You see what he's saying? Mm-hmm. Really? Al Pidin Torah, where we're up to at the moment, after analysing the Tosfos, which we're going to learn straight after this, it would actually seem to be mutter. Lulei haminag haposhut beinenu ubeinehem mipnei geder pirtzois hapritzus v'hazoinim achareihem. Were it not for the fact that there is a very strong societal, moral convention to prevent moral decay and breakdown, the so-called famous slippery slope argument. And that is why in society it is not looked favorably upon, certainly in those days, up until 1973, whatever. Yeah. We have to remember, always with history, you have to keep history in context. You have to keep history in context. There is a horrible, I'm going to go off the subject just for a second. There is a horrible concept which some woke left-wing chevra are promulgating, which is called, you can Google it afterwards, presentism. Presentism, which means the arrogant perspective of viewing things that happened hundreds of years ago, not as we always, historians have always done, anthropologists or social historians have endeavored to understand the zeitgeist of what was happening then, the mores of the time, and understand, look at slavery. We don't look at slavery, when you're looking at Abraham Lincoln and you're trying to judge him, and I'm not going into all of that, until very recently, it was understood that what you need to do is read and understand what was happening in society at the time and judge him according to what was happening at the time. All the people who signed the Constitution, they were all slave owners, etc., etc. But slavery is not a... Most people who committed slavery over all the millennia are blacks themselves. On others, it's got to be seen as a big picture. Of course, today we accept slavery is wrong, etc. That's not the shaila. But presentism. So today it's very is looking at what happened 20, 30, 40, hundreds of years ago through the lens of 2022 liberal progressive society, woke society. We need to remember this is important for us. It's important for us because you can get very carried away with what's happening at the time, and without committing too much about in terms of rights and wrongs. But the reality is, for example, I'll just give you an example. The word marriage, until very, very recently, had one meaning. And we need to remember that. For millennia, it's had one meaning. That meaning has gone. We know that. I'm not going to comment on it. Or, and here's my, not only a prediction, but the word woman had a very clear and specific meaning. That is about to change. The Daila Maven. That's that, right? But we need to understand that when the Chavis Yor is writing this is fascinating because it's a comment not on a Torah society. This is a comment on European society 200 years ago, right? And he's saying it's the most fascinating thing. He is saying, Das Torah, halacha, okay, mutter. Lulei haminig haposhut beineinu ubeinehem. There's a social contract. There's just an there's a some scholars call it a lex naturalis. Yeah? Natural law. Whatever. That what? Geder, and what's the point? Geder haprotzos upirtzos vazonim achareim. And he goes along with that. And on that basis, he paskins that it's a problem. But that's really what I wanted to, and therefore you Messiah every Avera, he talks about Hashchas HaZerah also. And just as a, so that is the main quote I wanted, that is the main quote that I wanted from the Chavos Yair. 1 second. Fine. Just look at the last line of the tshuva, and then we'll move on to Tosfos. He says, "V'no achi, please, my brother, al tatricheni od b'sheilas ke'ela. Please don't ask me any more sheilas like this. Ki b'koshi yeshavti lecha al zois. B'chesed u'v'rachamim." I decided to respond to this one, but don't push your luck again. Okay, let's move on. And now we want to do one of the most important. That was more of an aside. So today we did a little bit more of an aside. The Ma'arit, the Chavos Yair, going along with Shittas Rashi. What have we discovered? We've discovered a reason not to do abortion from either Chavala, and the Chavos Yair says the reason not to do it is a universal moral social convention.
But Chavala is in the middle stage.
Chavala is just a reason. It's a halachic reason. The Chavos Yair said, sorry?
For all stages.
Not if it's via Ba'alma.
From 40 days.
Correct.
He gives the reason for before, no?
No, he's also talking after 40, I think.
I thought he was trying to give...
No, he says the minig...
To not abort...
Do you know what? I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to study this tshuva in a bit more depth.
Okay.
I will reserve judgment. Okay. Fair point. I really just wanted to bring out that one point that he says there's a social convention. I found that absolutely fascinating. Right. Now let's go to the next very, very important shit of the Rishonim, and we're going to learn a few lines of Tosfos. So Tosfos in Nida, Daf Mem Daled Amud Beis, page 2. Remember, the Sugya in Nida is the one which tells us, the Mishnah tells us, a day-old baby, Hahar Gechayev. Right? Let us go to Tosfos here. It is on page 2. It is the last quote here. And we're going to start from the top line of Tosfos here. Okay? Umihu efsha. Are we good? Kobe, you got it?
I did Tamin at the Burger right now.
What?
I did Tamin at the an appointment at the Burger now. I forgot.
You forgot to go?
Yeah.
Oh no. So you have to set up Google, my friend. I set up my Google it sends me an hour before. Always.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I always do that. I didn't do it today. I just got the notification that it's now.
Now. How far away is it?
It's in Spandau.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Hatzlacha. Beseda. Okay. Okay. Last. A few more minutes. Yeah. Let's get through the Tosfos today, and then it's an amazing Tosfos. By the way, Rabbi said this is one of the most important Makoros. We're going to see a lot of Moshe references. You need to know this. You need to know obviously you have to know the Rashi in Sanhedrin, Lav Nefeshu. And we're going to do the Rambam. We won't get to the Rambam today. Monday we'll start the Shittas Rambam and we're going to learn the Reb Chaim. Get ready, we're going to do a whole Reb Chaim together. A beautiful, one of the most classic Reb Chaim al Rambam. We're going to do it right because it's absolutely beautiful. But this is the Tosfos, Shittas Tosfos. Top line, Umiu Efsha. Says Tosfos, perhaps. Tosfos makes a suggestion. What is Tosfos' suggestion? The Dav Kehecha de Imoy Chayo. Tosfos is now going to begin to shape out for us the ground of the parameters of when and when not you might not be able to kill an uber. Remember, this is on the Gemara that seems to say you can. Says Tosfos, maybe Dav Kehecha de Imoy Chayo lo Yemechayev Ahoyer Ger Sheyotza Roishoi Shetoloi Ktsas Bechiyus Imoy. It could be, says Tosfos, that when do I say that if you kill a fetus before it has emerged, it's okay? Maybe that's only if the mother is still alive. So the mother is its power pack. The mother is providing life and energy, so it doesn't have, what's the point? It is, I'll be philosophical a minute, it's contingent existence. The Derech Hashem at the beginning makes one of the most strong and powerful points about our understanding of Hashem is that his existence is non-contingent. Do you know what that means? That's the technical philosophical term. He is a cause and not an effect. Non-contingent. Unabhängig or unabhängig. Genau. That's it. That's Hashem is he is the imperative for his own existence. His existence is not, it's where the buck starts. Not stops. Yeah? He is the first, Aristotle's primary mover, right? That's what it means. His chius, he just is. That's what, he is correct. That's why, he just is. You can't say why is he, or who's his father, or if he can commit suicide. We'll do that another time, that's an interesting talk. But that is, so, it comes here, says Tosfos makes a suggestion. Perhaps, when do I say that you can't, when do I say that you can abort a fetus? That's Kol Zman. It isn't an independent life. Its mother is providing it nutrients. So it isn't a life on its own. Therefore, we cannot treat it halachically as an independent life. But what would be if the mother has died and the kid is still alive inside?
Seems it might.
Then maybe, says Tosfos, and he introduces a word of and begrif which we can use. Maybe it's a baby in a box. It's a nefesh in a box. Kamunach bekufsa. When the mother's alive, it is all efsha. By the way, really important. This is all efsha. This is conjecture. Vielleicht. Maybe. Yeah. Says Tosfos, that is true. This beautiful Tosfos, very, very important, but also gives you insight into Tosfos' thinking. Yeah, it's a thought experiment. This is mamish what Tosfos is doing. Efsha dedav kehecha deimay chaya, then lo mechayev aher gayad sheyotzer roishoy shetolik tzas b'chiyos imay. He is somewhat dependent on the mother's life. Somewhat. Interesting. Tolik tzas, but okay, leave it. Tzas b'chiyos imay. Avol hecha de mesa. But it could be suggested that if the mother is already dead, chayev, and you then reach in and kill the fetus inside, it could be it's a capital offense. Mishum de kemunach bekufsa dami It's a life in a box. Because whatever life it has, once the mother's died, is independent. Okay, so it's inside. Well, why should that matter? And if somebody's in an incubator or it's irrelevant. If you're in a box, he's still alive. You could be alive in a box. Fascinating, no? That's the first question mark before we go any further. Let's go on. Vim toima. And this is an incredibly famous Tosfos. Vim toima. Im tim saloimar. Im tim saloimar de mutila harga, he says Tosfos. What would be if I don't accept this position that it is a life in a box? Let's say it's not a life in a box. And even if the mother is dead, until it has been born, maybe it's not a life at all, irrespective of whether the mother's alive or not. Im tim salema. Al hatzad, as we say. Take that position for the moment. Now let's take this further. So let's assume that it is absolutely okay, halachically, to kill a fetus, irrespective of whether the mother's alive or not. In other words, we don't treat it as a life in a box. If that is to be so, then Im tim salema de mutal hargai, b'kagai nafilu meisa imay, v'lo yav kamunach b'kufsa. Says Tosfos, now I have a major problem. Amai mechalin olavis haShabbos. That means categorically, until it sticks its head out and is born, it is not a nefesh. If it's not a nefesh, how can you be mechal Shabbos for it? Amai mechalin haShabbos. Shemavien sakin derech rishus harabim likreya ha'ein kedemuch per kamet erchin. The Gemara says in Erchin, we will bring a knife through the rishus harabim to save the child. The halacha is we are mechalel Shabbos d'oraisa to save the life of a fetus. Why? It's not a life. It's not even a life in a box. Why? How can I be mechal Shabbos? That's Tosfos' kasha. Great kasha. Would anybody like to suggest an answer? You wouldn't.
Think about that.
Okay, should we do Tosfos? We'll just do that for today. Yeah, let's just do Tosfos.
1 second.
Go on.
Scenario, just a clarification.
Yeah.
We go now with the option that it's not alive.
Correct.
So
Not alive at all.
How do we violate Shabbos then?
Oh, that's the kasha.
Meaning the mother is...
No. To save the mother, let's say the mother's okay. The mother's okay. The mother's perfectly fine. But somebody comes to the rabbi, whatever, he goes, she's more than 40 days pregnant, and there's a possibility that she's losing the baby.
Right.
You call halacha l'maisa, guys. You call hatzalah on the spot. You do anything that is needed. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Being mechal Shabbos d'oraisa for something that I'm allowed to kill.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to add up. Great question. Yesh leima. Answers Tosfos. The mikol mokoim mishum pikuach nefesh mechalin alavis haShabbos afal gav de mutar lahirgai. Yes, says Tosfos. You are mechalel. You absolutely. And remember, to be mechal Shabbos, it's not an option on the menu. For chilul Shabbos, press 1. You have to. It's a mitzvah. You have an absolute obligation to drive, to get a knife, to do whatever you can do. You have an absolute chiyuv to be mechal Shabbos. So you're allowed to kill it. So it's not a nefesh. I'm allowed minato to kill it. And Tosfos' language here is very strong. It's the first time we've seen. This is the strongest. Can anybody? I don't know if you chapped. Until now, we said loy mechayev ha'orgai. You're not chayev. And remember, Tosfos in Sanhedrin said loy shori.
Yeah.
Remember this? Correct. It's a machlekes in Tosfos. Very good. You hear? Tosfos in Sanhedrin said, yeah, it's not a capital offense, but loy shori, it's not allowed. Tosfos here uses language mutar lahorgai. Mutter. Go immediately down on the side, bottom right. We have the Rabbi Yaakov Emden in his Hagos says this language of Tosfos is imprecise. Einoi meduyak. You see it? It's in small letters. Bottom right. There's a little finger there. Yeah. Einoi meduyak. Demanu deshari lariges uba belitam. Who would be so brazen as to allow you to kill an uba for no reason whatsoever? Even though, of course, if you were to do so, it wouldn't be a capital offense, but it's a long way from there to just go saying, oh, I'm bored on a rainy Sunday afternoon, I think I'm just going to go and kill a fetus. Sorry. I'm being deliberately provocative. You hear, he's saying... So Tosfos in Sanhedrin said, "Mikol Makom Lo Shari." Tosfos here says mutter, and we have to see whether that we're going to keep this girsa in Tosfos or not. I'm just pointing it out. Let's just finish off the Tosfos. Daha gufa bidei adam ha'horgo potter kedama perkan israfin. A goisus. Okay, I'll just finish with this. You know what a goisus is? Somebody who is in the process, in the throes of dying. It's a halachic definition. You can recognize somebody who is a goisus. Unfortunately, I had the zechus as a relatively young man in Gibraltar being part of the Chabura Kadisha and sat at the bedside of quite a few people who died. And there are certain, and it's a halacha of what goisus is, certain types of breathing, etc., etc. The halacha is very clear in Shulchan Aruch. When somebody is a goisus, you may not touch them. You can't touch them. Because it could be that your touch would hasten their death, and therefore it's absolutely forbidden. On the other hand, if you were to pull out a gun and kill them, you would not be put to death.
Because they were to die.
Because roiv goisasim lemisa. Meaning, well, look, I've got news for you. Sorry, guys, I don't want to break your, really ruin your week, but we're all going to die.
Rabbi,
Not roiv, every single one of us. Yay, let's party. Roiv goisasim lemisa. No, it means this state of goisus is irreversible. That's what it means. It means I've sat with doctors and with people. Sometimes they say it's 3 hours and it can be 10 hours. Sometimes it can be a day. It can be 2 days. But when it's a goisus by definition is an irreversible process. This person now has entered a phase where there is only one outcome as a direct result of this, and it lasts. However, it doesn't last very long. Right? Don't think of life as one long gesisa. No, not a good idea. But so we have this anomaly already in halacha. A goises is you're not allowed to touch him because you might be killing him. Why not? If I were to shoot him, it would be mutter. Teretz is Tosfos is using this as a reference to what's going on over here. Pikuach nefesh is an absolute obligation, whether or not it's going to be successful. We don't follow roiv for pikuach nefesh. Famously, the Gemara, I know there's 100 people under here who the building falls down, and one of them are Jewish, or there's only a 1% chance or whatever it is. You don't need a roiv in order to save even a miut, even if there's a slim chance, a sofek pikuach nefesh, a slim chance that you'll save somebody, you mechal Shabbos. So we're not using the same criteria. And therefore you can absolutely hold both positions simultaneously. You can hold, it's not a nefesh.
It's not a baby in a box.
It's not a baby in a box. It's not a life in a box. It's not a nefesh. Right? And therefore, if you were to kill it, it would be mutter, meaning it wouldn't be a capital offense. But there would still be a chiyuv of hatzalah. We need to broaden this, and that is Tosfos' position. Does that mean that hatzalah is not contingent upon the existence of a life? You could argue back at Tosfos and say, but that's all. When there is a nefesh, I'm not sure whether I'm going to successfully save it, then I don't go after Rav. But here there is no nefesh to start with. So there's still a lot for us to talk about. What I'd like you to do over the weekend, please, if you get a chance, is to review and revise what we've done so far. We've done Shittas Rashi, we had a few proofs to it, and learn this Tosfos as best as you can, and then we will start Reb Chaim and the Rambam next week, okay? For a new approach.